I have always wanted to study abroad. It had been a dream of mine since I was just a little girl at the age of 10. Why was that so? Well, this idea had been stuck in my mind when I go to the summer camp in Canada when I was only 10 years old. The life in Western country just seemed so wonderful. But then, after all these years, I started to ask myself, what was the true reason that I wanted to go there? Well, it turns out to be an eagerness to verify an idea that was planted in my mind years before. This idea was that American children tend to have better results than the Chinese children have later in a society. I have always been told that there are huge differences between Chinese children and American children. These huge differences come from the differences in the parenting styles. And of course, the parenting styles in America are always said to be better than the one in China, since a lot of Chinese parents think that American students tend to have a better ending in the society. This idea was deeply rooted in my mind years before, and I always tried to figure out whether it is true. This question remained unsolved until I got an opportunity to go to America for the exchange program. A girl called Alice and I were in the same home during the exchange program. When we met this amazing family, we saw a really big family with 5 kids in it. I wonder whether my homestead mom and dad would still be able to spend as much time with their kids as they did before Alice and I joined this big family. However, after spending the first week with this amazing family, this question in my mind disappeared. Each one of the kids in the family got their own hobbies and showed a really strong enthusiasm in it. Some love sports, like my older brother Jonathan and my younger sister Sarah do, and some are doing a great job in communicating with people, like my older sister Camille and my younger brother Stephen do. And some are really obsessed with music, like my partner Missy and Jonathan. And our homestead mom is a substitute teacher, which enables her to care more about her children when the kids are at home, since she got more time for herself when the kids are at school. What really impressed me is my homestead dad. Our homestead dad is a university professor, which means he can be really busy during the weekdays. He was supposed to relax himself a little bit when it is weekend, when he could finally sit down and rest a little bit. But he didn't. Instead, he chose to spend time with each kid by doing the things that kids like. When kids who love music have music concerts, or the kids who love sport have sport games. Everyone in the family was asked to go to see their performances or the games and offer them encouragement. When there was no events, everyone in the family was asked to join a game we played every Saturday night, since nobody will resist the charisma of the game. I was quite surprised that my homestead mom and dad would still be able to raise these 5 kids so well, even though they could have spent some time on relaxing themselves. Some people may think that all these things my homestead mom and dad did for their kids are probably the things that they're required to do as parents. But the things that they did for me moved me, even though I am not their child. When Alice and I first arrived in the home in America for the first time, we introduced ourselves. And when we were talking about our hobbies, our homestead dad asked us about our hobbies. I thought it was just a good time to tell them what my hobby is, so I told them that I was a great fan of basketball. And then my homestead dad asked me about my favorite basketball team specifically, so I told him that I was a great fan of Cleveland Cavaliers. I didn't think about it too much because I thought maybe my homestead dad just happened to be a great fan of basketball too, and have the same favorite team as I did. And then I told them that I love dogs too. Missy agreed with me and told me that the reason they didn't have a dog at home was because there was no room for a dog. After a few days, when my birthday arrived, my homestead dad bought me a shirt and a cap of my favorite basketball team. I have to say I was thrilled. What's more, my homestead mom borrowed the dog from a neighbor for one day, just so I can experience the day with the dog around. I was quite surprised at how they can remember those details so much and help me to make them come true. Now I understand how American parents support their children's hobbies. Comparing to our homestead parents, my parents are usually stricter and more authoritative. They may focus more on my schoolwork than on my hobbies. My mom will indeed support me in my hobbies sometimes, but from her perspective, the schoolwork has to come from everything. And not only my mom is like this, but almost all the Chinese parents are like this as well. It is probably because almost all the Chinese kids need to study harder than others in order to win in a university entrance exam, enter a better college, and later get a better job in a society. But this is probably the reason why the Chinese kids do a great job in academic performance and achievement as well. Therefore, the parenting style in China seems not that bad after all. What's so fascinating about Chinese parenting style is that the Chinese kids are taught to conform to social behavior, which are characterized by politeness, no aggression, and cooperation. We Chinese kids are taught to be polite and treat others, especially those old citizens and the kids who are younger than us, nicely since we were young. When we 15 Chinese exchange program students study in American high school campus for a few weeks, I already heard a lot of American students told me that the Chinese students are treating them so well that they didn't think we got selfishness in our heart at all. They found very comfortable getting along with us. I was happy to hear this, and I was so surprised and excited because it not only made them think that we are better, but also it proves that this part of the Chinese parenting style is right and successful. I'm so proud, and the question of whether American parenting styles are better soon vanished. Now I understand that both Chinese parenting styles and American parenting styles have their own advantages, and none of the two is better than the other one. American parents may focus more on allowing children to enjoy their own hobbies, sending them all the supports as they can to their children, while Chinese parents may focus more on rendering the children to have a better behavior and then a better relationship with the people around them. It was then I finally realized that although there are still some differences between the Chinese parenting styles and American parenting styles, both of them are for the sake of us children. No matter the parents teach the kids in the Chinese parenting styles or the American parenting styles, they all play an important role in making us better people. Thank you.